In this last section of Chapter 3, we're going to be looking at volume and a little bit of surface area. So let's take a look at the dimensions. If we have length, we have one dimension, so we just see that in things like inches, feet, centimeters. And area is two dimensions, so remember that's our square units because we have length and width. And then we have volume, which is three-dimensional. So that's our cubic units because we have a length, width, and height. A prism is a solid figure with at least one pair of parallel surfaces that create a uniform cross-section. In a right prism, the lateral edges are perpendicular to the base. So here you actually see a rectangular prism where the edges are all perpendicular. So here you can see two different rectangular prisms. The base of a rectangular prism is a rectangle. So in this first one, then you see we just have a normal looking rectangular prism. So we have our length across the bottom, our width, and then our height. Now over here on the second one, we have what looks kind of more like a parallelogram, but that base is still going to have a rectangle shape. So to find the volume, we're still going to use the volume of a rectangular prism. But your height, instead of being the actual side, it is dropped down perpendicular. So you just have to be careful with that. So the volume of a rectangular prism is the area of the base times the height. So what you should notice is now that I have a three-dimensional figure and I'm talking about length, width, and height, then giving me that surface, that kind of area on the inside is just your length times width, and now we need to build that figure up, and that's why you have to do your height. So again, your formula is going to be for a rectangular prism, volume equals length times width times height. For a triangular prism, the base is a triangle, and most of the time the triangle will also be a right angle. It doesn't always have to be, but most of the time it will be. For the volume of a triangular prism, we're going to have the area of the base. Now remember, this is going to be the area of a triangle then, because the base is a triangle, times the height. Again, we're going to find kind of this area that's here, and then we've got to build it up to make it that three-dimension. So you're going to do 1/2 base times height of the figure. That gives you your volume. So you're seeing two H's there, a lowercase and a capital. A trapezoidal prism is, the base is a trapezoid. So we're going to do the area of the trapezoid times the height. So remember, then you're going to do volume equals the height of the trapezoid divided by 2 times base 1 plus base 2 times the height of the figure. So let's take a look at some examples. Here we have 2 blocks of cheese that are selling for the same price, and we are trying to decide which block contains the greater volume. So let's take a look at the first block. We have a trapezoidal prism. And remember that the volume here is going to be your height divided by 2 times base 1 plus base 2 times the height of the figure. So my height of the trapezoid, that's what we have to focus on first. So that is this 3. So we're going to have 3 over 2 times, and then we have our base. So base 1 and base 2. So 9 plus 5 times the height of the figure, which is 4. Now you can plug this into your calculator and you should get 84 cubic inches. So here we have a triangular prism. And remember that the volume of a triangular prism is the area of the base times the height. So we usually would say, well, okay, well, that's 1/2 base times height times height. But the problem with this triangular prism is we don't know the height of the triangle. So we're going to have to find the area of the base using the other formula that we worked with, where we used the S and we did A plus B plus C divided by 2. And then we found the area by doing the square root of S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C, and then that will give us our area. So let's start here. So I have 9 plus 9 plus 6 over 2, which will give me 12. So then I have 12 times 12 minus 9 times 12 minus 9 times 12 minus 6. And that's all under that square root. So then I have the square root of 12 times 3 times 3 times 6. And that should give you 25.46. So this value, this 25.46, is actually the area. Now you can use that and plug it into the volume formula. And so we are really focusing in on that volume is the area of the base times the height. So this is our area of the base, 25.46. So I can say, well, 25.46 times the height of my triangle, which is 3. Okay, so there's the height of my triangle. And you should get 76.37 cubic inches. And then you can look at those two values from the trapezoidal prism. Now remember that one was 84 cubic inches, and the triangular prism, and we've gotten 76.37 cubic inches to determine which one is greater. And of course that would be your trapezoidal prism. So now let's take a look at surface area. So surface area is the sum of the area of each side of a figure. So for a triangular prism, surface area is going to be 2 times the length times width plus 2 times the length times height plus 2 times the height times width. So we're going to find the surface area and the volume for this rectangular prism. So the reason we have 2 length and widths is because we have a front and a back. We have a top and a bottom. We have 2 sides. So that's why each one of those is multiplied by 2. So let's work through this rectangular prism. I have my surface area equals, and my length times width. So this is really looking at that top and bottom. So we have our length, and I'm going to just put L here, W here, and then this would be my height. So that way we know what we're pulling. So I'm going to have 2 times 40 times 10 plus 2 times, and now we're looking at length and height, so that's our front and back. So 40 times 15 plus 2 times, and my height and my width, that's our sides. So 15 times 10. It really doesn't matter which order as long as you get all of those pieces in there. So if you plug each of these into the calculator, you should get 800 plus 1200 plus 300. And when you add those, you should get 2,300 square inches. And this is surface area. So since area is square units, surface area is also square units because we're just talking about all of the area of the figure. And then of course volume is length times width times height. So we're just going to do 40 times 15 times 10. And that gives me 6,000 cubic inches. And just remember that volume is cubic units. There is some practice here from your textbook, and then of course you have homework in my math lab, your section 3.5 homework. That is part of your attendance 2 assignment, and then your chapter 3 quiz should also be available, and that will be due next week.